Imagine having an AI-powered search engine for candidate profiles from across the open web and even from within your own ATS. Well, that's exactly what HireTool is. HireTool is a global talent platform that serves all recruiters, from small businesses to the world's largest enterprises. And with 750 million plus profiles from over 45 open web sources and channels and 30 plus integration partners, there's literally something for everyone. Recruiters can find more talent with AI sourcing, send unlimited emails, and integrate with your favorite recruitment tools all in one platform. If you're spending hours looking for qualified candidates, underrepresented talent, and updated contact information, then HireTool is probably what you need for your toolkit. HireTool is a platform that helps great recruiters accomplish more every single day. Check them out at hiretool.com. Hey everybody, we're back. It's Tim Sackett. We're back with another episode of HR Famous. I just blew Chris out of his chair. Of course, I'm with Chris Dunn, my friend, and Jessica Lee, my other friend. How are you guys doing?
You have so many friends. You're so lucky.
I do. I think
You are popular, though.
Am I popular?
Oh, I think people want to be your friend, whether or not you actually consider them your friend. I think people, like both of you, people want to be your friends, and they're like, I'm friends with him. You're likable.
I think we're approachable, right? Like I try to make myself inaccessible. Like I think that's one thing. I think like folks are always like amazed when they send me a note or a question and I respond, and they're just like, they think like somehow I'm going to have like an admin or like some like, bot that's going to respond for me or something. I'm like, no, it's just me like doing this, So
you're nice. I don't respond.
I'm more inner circle than I think Tim is. Tim, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely smaller circle of trust. But I continue to like the older I get, my circle of trust continues to get smaller and smaller.
Isn't that life in general though? Isn't most people that way?
Yeah, your vision just keeps like closing in until one day it goes.
There's a lot of motivational stuff that I see where people will go like, hey, you should only spend time with those people that you find value in, blah, blah, blah. Like it's all, that kind of like, so just try to get like the bad people out of your life or the people who take that don't give and all that stuff. I think that's so hard because I think everybody takes and gives at other times, right? Like the best people in our circles do that. So it's not like you're going to be constantly just surrounded by people giving to you. Like that's just not how the world works. But
JLee, are you big circle or small circle?
Tiny circle.
Tiny. Lock it down. Lock it down.
You guys are my only friends, actually.
I always let my wife she was always like, yeah, my circle is basically you and the dog. Like that's it. Like, and it's just not that case, but that's what she makes fun of that because she always thinks like you guys, like that I have this gigantic kind of like group of friends. I'm just an extrovert. So I talk to a lot of people, but I think like, I don't get personal with a lot of people. So, it is what it is.
Wow, we went deep just on that. How are you?
Just coming out. On
no new friends. Episode. No new friends. That's
no new friends. Is that that's going to be the SHRM 2022 t-shirts at the conference. So hey, you KD, speaking of inner circle, I send TikToks to only a very small people. I send it to you. I send certain TikToks to you. I send certain TikToks to my wife and my boys. And then there's also, we're on a text string with Jessica and Dawn Burke, who works for KD, super close friend of ours. And I'll send TikToks to you guys. So I'm a TikTok curator for my circle of trust friends.
Mm-hmm. I don't even have an account.
I don't even get, neither does my wife. That's another thing you guys have in common. But Jessica, you're going to laugh at this. So KD and I have this thing going on where my wife says, you like KD because he's just like me. And so then they try to figure out how they're alike, and constantly there's things coming up that they're alike. Neither of them have a TikTok, but they love the TikToks I send them. I want to, do you guys send TikToks to other people?
I deleted TikTok from my phone. So you're my source.
Why? Too much?
It's like I was on a rabbit hole every night, just scrolling endlessly. And It's unhealthy, but to be honest, I have replaced that rabbit hole of scrolling endlessly with Instagram stories and Instagram videos, so reels. And so it's the same thing. And all the TikTok stuff is there. It's unhealthy, but what am I going to do, at 11:30 at night when I'm 2 glasses of wine? And of course I'm going to scroll. What else is there?
I only have one person that sends me TikToks. It's my older son. And again, he'll send me ones that he knows he can't send to his mom. So he'll send them to me first.
Some of those likely come my way, right, Tim? Every once in a while, some of those come my way.
Yeah. They're definitely not appropriate for all parties. Speaking of TikTok, obviously I'm a fan. And there was a couple of things regarding like work and employees and the HR stuff that have come up recently. And so I wanted to get your guys' kind of take on this. First one, I sent you guys a TikTok, and it's a classic trope of TikTok where somebody asks a question. They'll say, tell me that you are an old person without telling me you're an old person, or tell me, the best thing you ever bought off of Amazon. Right. And then people respond like in this, and that's kind of a TikTok trope. And so I sent you one that Amazon actually did themselves, which was, tell me the best thing you ever got off of Amazon. By the way, it's a very attractive woman that's kind of has like a tank top on, showing probably too much of her breast, whatever. It's eye candy. And then it's a guy going, the best thing I ever got from Amazon was my career, my job, right? Which is great employment branding. Had by the time I sent it to you guys, it was over 500,000 views. So that's a big TikTok. And then as I started to go through Amazon's employment branding TikToks, they have a bunch of really great ones like that. So they definitely have some folks who get TikTok, who are TikTokers that also are now on their EB team or recruitment marketing team or whatever that might be. You guys saw it. I want you to respond to the Amazon employment brand. And then what about employment branding and TikTok as a vehicle? Where do you see that?
It was a great TikTok, that particular one. And also shout out to Amazon, because from an EB perspective, they've been rating many companies, including Marriott, and hiring great employer brand people away. So good for them. They're also rating our hotels, but whatever, I'm not bitter. I think that like the value of TikTok is really, or any social media. I think I've probably mostly felt this way. I've come to this place. I think early on I felt differently. It's about like your brand, but not necessarily about recruiting or sourcing. Yeah. I think if anyone really is going to believe it's about sourcing, I just think it's a different skill set. You're not always getting the return on investment. It takes a lot of work. I have successfully sourced off of social in the past, but I just don't think it's as easy as people think. But I think if you're going to use it to elevate your brand, great. But I also don't think that it works for all companies. If you're a big brand, you can probably spend the money, the time, the resources, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I think like if you're willing to get a little like off the rails with TikTok, small companies can have a bigger impact for less money. Because big brands, they have to be worried a little bit, right?
That's true.
With what's going on from a lot of angles, because you definitely don't want to get canceled. If you're a 250 person manufacturing company in Lansing, Michigan, you can get crazy on TikTok and no one's really going to care. There's probably only upside for you from that standpoint if you find the right people. I agree with you though, Jay. I think I see TikTok a lot like Twitter when it comes to recruiting. Everyone always talks about like, oh, we should do Twitter recruit. No one recruits off of Twitter. It's more content like share branding. People that say they recruit off Twitter are pretty much lying to you. Like out of the 100 people they hired, they might have hired 1 or 2 off of Twitter. That's not a great channel. That's a lot of wasted time on the Twitters. KD, TikTok, Amazon reaction, or any of the other ones you saw.
I think both of you have said most of what
you're like, I'm uninterested.
But here's what I'll tell you. Like, unless a social engine locks a profile down with a company name and a profession, unless that's part of the game, it's never really going to be a tool for most people to use. Now on the Amazon thing, sure, scale it up. You get some benefit out of that. If you're really smart, you can use it in the content streams with how you communicate to candidates in the recruiting funnel, right? That can be part of your messaging. Boy, you really have to be G'd up, to do any of that, right?
G'd up.
You got to be really good to do that. But by the way, shout out to Amazon for like just hooking in to everything we learned from the Wall Street Journal series of articles on Facebook where they knew that Instagram was bad for young girls. And I think the lady that they started that video with is one of the reasons why Instagram's bad for young girls. So just go straight to the attention, like meter.
Hey, I put that up on LinkedIn, and Glenn Cathy, shout out Boolean Black Belt, Glenn Cathy. He's just one of the greatest sourcers of all time. Shared another one with me that was just as good, that didn't have kind of the sexism kind of part to it. So I think they have a lot of great content out there. And again, I think, again, it goes back to, if you're on TikTok and you're trying to say, well, we want to be on TikTok, but we want to be really safe. That's not how you do TikTok. So is that one of those things where somebody can look at it and go, oh crap, they did the thing, but that's TikTok. I mean, that's what it is. Like, it's constant that you see that stuff, you know.
It's awareness, it's employment brand. And if you really use the content in a smart way, it can help people transition down the funnel, right? But that is just like tip of the spear, holy grail stuff for the average talent acquisition department. It's hard to get there, right? You could use those videos in comms to candidates, but you have to have like your environment set up in such a specific way. But
I don't think it's hard to get there if you allow your people who younger people for the most part. But that's a broad stroke, because there's some obviously Gen X.
I want to challenge this, by the way, in just
that
seconds.
have killed it on TikTok. If you have employees who are on TikTok and they want to be a part of this, right, as employer brand advocates, potentially, right, there's a great avenue there where they can actually, you know, get a lot of value. KD, challenge.
Well, the challenge is, I don't disagree with what you've said for the most part, but the challenge is, let's say you have those kids doing great things within a company, or you have all the employment branding people that have been stolen from Jessica's company working for Amazon now, whatever. Okay. So you're creating this content on the tip of the spear property like TikTok, Instagram stories, similar vibe. People are multi-purposing those things across both those platforms. At the end of the day, I'm a recruiter and I'm recruiting software developers and I'm using iSIMS. I'll just throw it out. By the way, iSIMS is a fine ATS, but I'm in an ATS and I'm trying to communicate to candidates. Am I going to use some of this content to show a candidate or a group of candidates that I'm trying to transition to take a phone screen with me? Is there a smart way for me to use that to influence those candidates? If there's not, it's all bullshit. And it's like long tail employment branding. It's not going to matter. This is like the conversation we had about geographic like differences in compensation. Remember, Tim? Because back then on that topic, you were saying, well, Katie, all this is BS because how many people really do it? I'm giving you the same argument here. You're saying, you're telling me that it's great, and I'm saying it is great, but it's for like 1% of the world. Meanwhile, in Grand Rapids, there's a technical recruiter, and somebody did a shitty TikTok like for their company.
Wow.
And they're like,
coming in hot.
And maybe there's a really good TA leader that's saying, hey guys and gals, could you use this maybe? Mm-hmm. And they're getting ready to blast 35 candidates in the universe of whatever developers in the Grand Rapids area. And they're saying, can I use this? I'm just trying to get on the phone with them. Can I use this?
You're totally broken in your thinking, because that is not in the
real. I'm like you back on the popcorn.
That is not in the process where this would ever happen. This is recruitment, market, employment branding, top of the funnel. If you're going to like go out to market to 30 candidates that you've already identified, that's not when you use this stuff. So whatever.
But that's where you do have some issues. So you do have recruiters who try to start to get cute and do their own thing and build their brand. And then they're making these crappy TikToks and posting things out there that they really shouldn't be because it's not good. And that's like the whole thing about you, whether it's TikTok or whatever social engine. I actually don't think people do very good, compelling, authentic like recruitment marketing or employer brand, it's the same stuff. It's like the same stuff all the time. Like, here's the face of a person who's had a great career. Look at how great we are to work for. Like the Amazon stuff is clever and it's expensive and hard to be clever. And so it's just, I feel like people just don't do it well. I think it's rare that you've got people who are clever and have chosen to be employer brand professionals. They're going to go work for some ad agency where they can be clever for Snickers or for, whatever, Columbia sportswear. They're not choosing
Jessica,
to work in employer brand.
This is going to change the world.
Oh,
Jesus. You're looking at a revolution. Cue up the music, cue up the Beatles.
Right, Jay, I'm coming to you because someone is fired up.
I'm not fired up. I'm just challenging it. By the way, all the people who want this, they get, to Jessica's point, they get the non-good stuff. Okay? Because somebody makes a run at it. They get the non-good stuff, and you know what they say to themselves? You know what would be great? Maybe if we could start this like that Amazon video started.
Yes.
But when it goes to the guy who got a helmet with a ponytail, let's go back to how it started. Let's don't go to the guy on a scooter in the Amazon parking lot.
Sure.
I suppose I digress.
So producer, speaking of TikTok, we're going to keep with the TikTok theme here. Producer Cameron shared a TikTok of a Gen Zer giving advice to other young job seekers where she was saying, you should job hop. I left my first job after 14 months and got a $4,000 increase. And then I left that job after a year and got a $15,000 increase. So Jay, she was saying, hey, you should job hop. Don't listen to all these other people. Don't listen to your parents. Job hop, job hop, job hop. It's going to make you more money. Good advice, bad advice to the young workers out there.
I'm not a big fan of job hoppers in general, but if you're going to job hop, the time to do it is probably when you're younger, but I don't think that you're doing it then. And maybe maybe I'm silly in saying the reason to job hop is not, purely for money. For me, the reason to job hop is to just get different experiences, get exposure to different industries and really find what's a good fit and where do you want to be. But I don't know. This is me 20 years in saying this. And so I could be totally out of touch with what's right for Gen Zer. I don't know. But I think, you know what? I looked back at
millennial.
I am a geriatric millennial. I was actually looking back at my resume for some reason and my LinkedIn profile. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that I stayed at some of these companies for such a short period. I mean, and for me now it's short. I'm like a year and a half, 2 years. That's so short. But when you're young, that seems like forever. So it's interesting. When you're old, you just look at it differently, I guess.
What I love about the Workforce Agility Limited Series by Cornerstone was we talked to executives and customers all about skills. Cornerstone has a wonderful background in learning and development, training, etc. Their LMS is world class, but they've centered the business now, not just on that, building upon that, but building upon how everything has moved to the skills economy. So check out the limited series called Workforce Agility, and you can get it wherever you get your podcast. And it's just a wonderful series where we talk to their executives on the shift of why, and also their customers that are using it. So check it out whenever you get a chance. Appreciate it.
So KD, we were talking math. Share the math with the audience. What do you think?
I can't remember the math we talked about, but I think I can go where.
That's what happens when you get old.
So that's not the issue. The issue, well, never mind. So, the issue here is that this is really not new, right? No. So aggressive, career-minded. The promotion.
The advice would be new to job hop, right? Because historically we say don't job hop.
So if you look at my background, I kind of identified this, even when I was in my early 30s, I had a career of 2-year stops. And then if for whatever reason, generally I got bored, right? I changed companies and I changed a ladder, next ladder to get a promotion, which is really, if you share that link in the pod notes, that's really what this Gen Zer is recommending, right? So first of all, it's a definition of job hopping. Job hopping to her was not once a year or less than once a year. She said every 2 years is what I remember. And 2 years is a great block where no one could, like, even if Jessica Lee, like, put the flashlight in her face and really interviewed her hard on that, it would all make sense, because job hopping every 2 years when you're in your 20s and you show a path of progression makes all the sense in the world. What's interesting about it is, there's just, there's a lot of navel gazing that maybe we didn't have 15 years ago on social, where it seems like it's this sea change, but I don't know that it is for high performers, right? I think this has always been the case. And then, Tim, maybe to the math part that you were talking about, the question is, when does that have to end? If you've done it the right way and you've done job hopping every 2 years, you've changed jobs maybe 3 to 4 times. I felt like once you get to about 32 and you've got that first director role, you're kind of done job hopping every year and a half to 2 years, because you moved up the ladder far enough, Tim, and then you come in with yours. You've moved up the ladder far enough where it's harder to change without penalties, because now all of a sudden you're going lateral when you change. And if you do that 2 times in a row, you kind of look like a loser who couldn't make it to the VP level.
So there's a couple of responses I have to this. So when the TikTok girl that was doing this, it was all about money. It wasn't about career progression. It was like, hey, you need to change because somebody else is going to pay you more to do the same. And I will say, economically right now, that's great. And she also has only been in an environment economically where that's ever happened. She hasn't been in a downturn, and that's where it costs you, right? So the first time there's a major downturn and they take a look at somebody that says, hey, you're 8 years in a role and then 4 or whatever, and then you're 1.5, 2, 1.5, 1, 2, 3, you're going to be going, wait a minute, something's wrong with that person. Katie, I think to your point of progression has to be title progression or company size progression, right? And you have to be able to very much craft the story of why you did what you did.
Yeah.
And if your story is, well, somebody was going to pay me $4,000 more or $10,000 more, you're going to have a hard time landing that really like executive level or leadership level job, because someone's going to go, no, because somebody's always going to be willing to pay you more money. But basically what you're telling them is you're just going to want to jump for the next person that offers you $5,000 more. And I don't want to hire that person.
I think what's interesting is, like, Chris, you said like age of 32, which means if you just undergrad only about 10 years of work experience. When I think about it that way, it's age of 32, potentially like 5+ job hops by that point. Actually, when I think about it that way, I feel like that's too many. So it's not necessarily about the age, but I think it is a question of like how many job hops. And I I agree. You got to have a really good story for the why. And any smart person, I hope you're not going to say it's because I got more money. Like you need to just come up with some crafted story around it was because of this. I got some more experience doing that. I wanted this exposure to this industry, bigger company, blah, 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 blah. So please, Gen Z, do not make the story about making more money. That's just a happy byproduct of I'm trying to grow my career.
If you're jumping from lateral role to lateral role to lateral role, like in 3 successive hops, people are going to look at it and go, you have a problem. That because you're not moving up, right?
Unless you can tell a story around, I want to get exposure to this industry or
relocation, bigger company.
Sure.
There has to be something.
There has to be a story. But 10 years, 5 job hops for me, I'm like,
But if you went, JLee, if you went from, I'll just use like broad terminology here, right? If you went from rep to associate to manager, to Tim's point, then you jump to a manager role, big brand from small brand.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it makes sense and you got to craft that forward. By the way, isn't it Darwinian? When we think about the old folks, we think about the young folks, we think about anybody in between. It's almost Darwinian, like related to how people talk about themselves and how they can craft the narrative. Because this young lady, who's not giving terrible advice, but her framing is all wrong, right?
Yeah.
If she ends up in front of Jessica Lee Jessica Lee is going to have the look on her face like she has she just smiled. So not that look, but she's going to have the contemplative look on her face. And you know what? JLee is not going to ask the question directly. JLee is going to get around it like with 4 or 5 questions to understand holistically this whole thing and to start winning. Like the truth will come out. If that girl really believes that she did it to put it in Fred Durst terms, the nookie. I knew you'd like that, JLee. That's your Gen
But
X.
isn't the nookie like that? No, we shouldn't say. You should not job hop for the nookie. Like,
well,
like that.
The nookie is a metaphysical replacement for money.
Okay.
And various forms of compensation.
Okay.
In this, so right. I so desperately wanted a Limp Bizkit like that. But Tim, it's Darwinian, right? This girl is either going to be able to explain it or she's not.
Yeah.
And some of the kids won't be able to, just like some of the older folks can't articulate it. And she'll go down in to your point, last in, first out environment in the next big flame out.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay.
Wait, before we let
go,
JLee. So
don't let it go.
Chris,
Keep going.
in the story you were crafting, you went from like coordinator to associate to supervisor to manager, and it was job hop from this company, this company, this company, this company. Like I would have a problem with that though. And like the question I also want to know is like, oh, it was for career progression, but like, were you not good enough where you were in that first company to be able to get to that next level at the second company, at the first company? Like you want to be able to demonstrate progressively responsible experience and impact in the place that you're in.
Team player.
Yes.
You know you're coming at me though. You know you're going to softball me like at the beginning of the interview. You're going to say,
you know what I am, and then I'm going to whip out my phone and say, "Is it because you watch this TikTok? This is what's going on." You're going to let me go
a little bit. You're going to give me the version of the 5-minute resume. Hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. You know, I see several experiences. Maybe even tip your hand there a little bit. But when you say that, you're going to say, "Tell me a little bit about yourself." And then to Tim's point, to your point, I've got to be able to hit those buttons and protect myself on the reasons within 3 minutes. I got to tell you the quick story about where I was, what I did, and why it was a great move, what I've learned, why it's made me more valuable, bringing the hush music for you, Miss Jessica Lee.
Hey,
Marriott rhymes
by
with
the way,
Marriott.
Pro tip, if you actually have that resume, or if your kid has that resume with 4 or 5 jobs in 10 years or 8 years, they better have great references from their supervisors at all those jobs.
Because we check the references.
Well, we don't, but it looks really good if you do. And that would be the other pro tip, is just have them, because they're not going to check them. So it's fine. All right. So we're here to help right here at HR Famous. And so there was some great data by a recruiting tech vendor, a programmatic vendor called AppCast, which we all know, that came out this last week. And so I want to share some, because I think it's tremendous information to have if you're struggling to hire right now, if you're struggling to attract talent, if you're struggling to get people to apply. So first one that they said was shorten your apply cycle. And they have data to show that if you can reduce your apply cycle from 15 minutes to 5 minutes, you will increase the number of people that apply by 345%. Now, this is across thousands of clients that they work with. They actually measure apply. And to me, that's amazing. I joked back at him and said, so if I get it down to 15 seconds, I'm going to increase my apply rate by 1.2 million. There's obviously there's a part where that kind of ends in terms of getting better. But what it is like, if you go through, and I always tell people, like, if you have somebody, because we all think that our application process takes 5 minutes, you have to go home and like have your spouse or significant other or somebody go, hey, get on my phone, on our Wi-Fi, and try to apply to one of our jobs and time them and see how long it actually takes somebody that doesn't know your process. And if it's taking over 5 minutes, you got a problem. People are dropping off. And so, like, KD, when you think about like the data you guys see with a lot of your clients too, do you guys see that same sweet spot in terms of time?
We 100% do. Right. And it all comes down to, if you're a slave to compliance and legal protection, you're going to veer towards the long version of that. So a lot of this comes down to influence on the part of HR and TA people to say that it's okay. So your definition of an applicant can come later in the flow, we can still get everything you need at a certain point. But at this top of the funnel, we can't put people through this. Why do we need more than 5 fields of information and a resume upload at the top of the funnel? The answer is you shouldn't have to, but a lot of companies have gotten that over the last couple of years, but many still haven't. And by the way, I'll end with this. You can still get to the bigger application post phone screen before the interview, preferably after the live interviews, like when you're actually like getting ready to make an offer. You could get to that place then. But 100%, that's the most valuable thing out of all that data that they shared to me.
Yeah, hook the
second
fish.
pass. Yeah, you got to hook them first. But like the other thing is, like, if someone doesn't believe it, they're not willing to, like, they don't believe this data, like, all they need to do is go look at like where people are dropping off in their application process. If you're in the longer application process, you're seeing people fall out when they apply. They hit the apply button, they're not completing the application. So where are they dropping off? It's because it's too long. And so you'll see it in your data.
Jay, if I talk to 10 TA leaders, I would say even at the enterprise level, one of them knows where candidates are falling off. And I'm shocked at that modern TA leaders aren't measuring and looking at that and understanding exactly where you're losing those individuals. Because if you solve some of those things, I mean, I think they would be shocked at first to know how many people are coming to the job and clicking apply and never finishing. Like, they would be shocked at how many people are doing that. All right, Jay, there's 2 more I want to talk about. One was post ads at the start of a week, but end of the month. So what they're saying is, hey, they have the data to show that if you post your job early in the week, clearly people are looking for jobs, are going to be out there pushing hard. But also end of the month, because again, same as beginning of the week, at the beginning of the month, there's kind of like all this traffic and stuff that happens. At the end of the month, you probably have less kind of competition because the fewer people are posting jobs. You get like, hey, budgets, approvals, whatever, first of the month, we're throwing a bunch of jobs out there. By the end of the month, not very many. When you guys think about like what you do at Marriott and everything in some of the other positions you've had, does that ring true?
So I love and 100% agree on posting ads at the start of the week, because one of the things that we used to see all the time in our career site traffic and apply data is people are searching for jobs during the week. And I think it's hard as HR recruiters, working people to say like, no, of course they're going to use their free time on the weekend to search for a job. No, you're not searching for a job on weekend because you're doing stuff with your friends and family. You're searching for a job while you're at work because you're not happy with your job. And so you're doing it during the week. And so 100% on posting ads at the start of the week. If not, it's got to be during the week. Like, people are searching for jobs during the week. I think the end of the month, I actually am really curious about that one because I'd not thought about that before. But start of the week, totally 100%.
Yeah, the end of the month thing was it's all, again, these are all based on like really solid like big data points, and for them it was, they just show that companies tend to post jobs early in the month and then fewer jobs end of the month, so you actually have a better chance, right, to get more applicants because newer jobs are going to rank up higher. We actually did some testing where we did on Indeed. We posted jobs on a Saturday and Sunday mornings. We didn't get more applies, but we got different people to apply. Like, it was weird because very few jobs get posted on those days. And so I think they got ranked up higher, and all of a sudden we saw different kinds of applicants kind of coming in. So again, test your stuff. I'll end with this one because I love this one as well, which is when you do your job posting, you should include at least 2 benefits, and it increases the applicant rate of apply by 45% by saying, hey, by the way, we offer unlimited PTO and free dry cleaning. Like, that's going to increase, and I'm always, because what most people put, right, are the, hey, we have a full benefits package, but actually getting very specific about 2 of those actually will encourage more people to apply. I love all that data.
That's fascinating.
KD, any response to the benefits? What benefit do you think it would have to list to get you to apply?
What company was that free dry cleaning at? I'd like to check that out. I think it makes sense. And I just trust people with big data. I think it's good advice, right? So I think all of that is good. I think the more specific you are about benefits too, the more it signals to people that your benefits are real.
Yep.
Because saying that we have however you said it, Tim,
full health and medical, yeah,
whatever, we have a full package,
comprehensive,
comprehensive package. That's a transactional point. So actually listing some of those, it would be interesting for AppCast to tell us what benefits perform the best, whether it was core medical, like being more specific on that, or some of the sexier benefits, which, personally, I always love the tuition aid thing, because it's literally the cheapest thing that you can put. Well, it's not cheap, but it's just really hard to use. So your expenditure will never be as much as you think it is, because people have full-time lives.
KD, I'll push back, not in terms of like, don't have AppCast tell us the data. Go out and A/B test that stuff yourself. Do 2 different job postings with 2 different benefits in each one, and see who applies for more, right? And see what people are attracted to, and so in the same job.
My gut tells me, and I'm not being a smart aleck like with this, I promise you I'm not. My gut tells me that A/B testing on a small level, it's going to be really hit and miss about what happens with that, right? So
it has to be high volume jobs, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
I like the behavior. We don't test enough, right? We don't. I like the behavior.
Well, it was another one that we didn't talk about that they have in there, which is 2 to 3 word job titles that are very generic. So sales manager instead of revenue leader, right? Like be very generic and use very few words. We'll get more applies. And I see that constantly when you're out there looking for jobs, and someone will say like, we need a recruiting ninja or some stupid,
Sherpa. How's Sherpa performing for us?
By the way, the big public entities and nonprofits are the worst when they say we need accounts receivable 3. What the F is a 3, right? Like no one knows what a 3 is. Stop that. It's the dumbest thing ever. And they're like, oh, well, we have to because that's the job. That's the description. Like, shut up. No, you don't.
Feed from the payroll system.
Posting. Oh, it drives me crazy. Okay.
It's not a 1. It's not a 2. It's a level 3.
It's a 3.
So check out that data from AppCast. Again, some of the small things that we can test and change make huge differences in the amount of people that can apply. And to JLee's kind of point, know within the process where people are dropping off. And if you go, how do I do that? Talk to your vendors, talk to your IT people. They can help you figure that out. And it's super valuable data. All right, I'm going to get you guys out of here. So Chris Dunn, Jessica Lee, love talking to you guys, talking shop. I'm Tim Sackett. This HR Famous, another one in the books. We are out.